Just when you thought July was over, technically it is, but Jordan July rolls on because we ran out of time, and this is supposed to be out in July, but it's August now and I'm still recording it because the Jordan 36 is the newest family member of the Jordan line and allegedly the most performance-driven Jordan there's ever been. And we've done all the most iconic ones, and so we thought we'd do the most recent one to give us a bigger scope of where the Jordan line started and where it's currently at now. And there's a lot of interesting technology and materials and things to test in this shoe. So we're gonna cut it apart, run a bunch of tests on it to really see what the Jordan 6 is all about and if it is actually a performance sneaker or if it's just another Jordan shoe that nobody loves. This video is sponsored by Vessi. If you don't know who Vessi is, they're a pretty interesting shoe. They're basically like a wetsuit for your feet. They're 100% waterproof, and they've got this knit upper with almost like a neoprene underneath. They're supposed to be kind of your shoe that you keep at the front door that you can slide on when it's raining outside or if you gotta go run a quick errand. They're really easy to get on and off because it's stretchy, but you do have the capability of lacing them down and pulling them tight. And they're made from what's called Dymatex, which is a dual climate knit material in the words of Vessi, which is basically just, it's breathable, it's cool for the summers, it keeps you insulated in the winter, kind of like a wetsuit does. And as you can see from our quick tests, they really are waterproof. The water beads up on them. And if you look underneath of the insole, you can see that the entire upper wraps all the way underneath and is sewn underneath of your foot. So it really is like a sock that is affixed to a foam midsole and rubber outsole that keeps your feet dry and warm, but also cool and keeps them comfortable. So check out Vessi and use the code on screen to get $25 off the adult Vessi shoes. And thanks again to Vessi for sponsoring this video. Go grab yourself some waterproof shoes that feel like you're wearing a little wetsuit on your feet. So to give you the quick history and the context of how we got to this point, we've got to start all the way back when Michael Jordan and the Bulls got their second three-peat with the titles in 97 and 98, and the release of the Jordan 12 through 15, and people hated the 15s. And Tinker left the Jordan line, and Michael Jordan retires in 1999. And then Michael Jordan unretires in 2001 after becoming the president of the Washington Wizards. And Michael Jordan retires again in 2003. And then from that point on, the Jordan line slowly became more of a performance-based sneaker that was focusing on basketball and less on the streetwear. And then Jordan focused even more on these shoes becoming a performance basketball shoe since the 31, trying to make them the best of the best basketball shoe money can buy, and really leaving the casual fashion world behind and focusing solely on performance. Like the Jordan 11s, they were performance-based, but also they were clearly designed equally with form and function, and allegedly the new Jordans are focused more on function than they are on form. So what is the whole idea behind the shoe? What is that functionality? Well, this shoe is designed to be the super lightweight, super breathable, almost like you're not even wearing shoes when you're playing basketball, because there's like that classic thing of like every extra pound on your foot is 15 pounds on your back, whatever. Who knows if that's actually true, but that's the concept, breathable and lightweight. So how do they go about making this shoe more breathable and lightweight? Well, the first thing is the air units. It has two Zoom Air units, one that's a full length that's strobo stitched, basically like the lasting board, and then you've also got this bump on the ball of your foot, which is a separate Zoom Air unit. They've also done some creative cutouts, you know, like this Air Zoom little pocket there that you can see through into the actual Zoom Air Zoom. I was talking to Colin, they said they switched up the name here and there, where it was originally Zoom Air, but then they switched it to Air Zoom. Zoom Air sounds better in my opinion. They've got rid of some extra foam. Obviously the upper is fairly see-through. The tongue has a bunch of cutouts in it. There's this bridge right here that doesn't have any foam. I don't know if that actually cuts down on weight, but it looks like it. And they've used lighter weight materials, but how does that actually compare to the other Jordans? Is it actually that much more lightweight, or does it just look like it? So we weighed this shoe, and it weighs 13.4 ounces. And if we compare that to the other Jordans we cut apart in this series, the Jordan 1s are 15.1 ounce, the 2s are 1.1 ounce, the 3s are 1.1 ounce, the 11s are 1.1 ounce. So the 36s are, how many ounces is that? 3 is to 16. So these are 4 ounces lighter. So it's about a 20% reduction in weight from the other Jordans, which doesn't sound like a lot when it comes to like 5 ounces, 4 or 5 ounces, but it's still reduction in weight. So, but the thing that I really like is how much more breathable these shoes are, because I sweat like crazy. Like when I'm playing basketball, when I'm exercising, whatever, I just get drenched. And so to have a little bit more breathability for your toes, Big fan. So now I'll start getting to the actual materials, starting with the upper and this leather, which they already say it's a fake leather. So we just want to double check. You never know. Nike's been known to fudge some things here and there. So we burned all these different panels, starting with this top one, and as you can see from the footage, it burned straight through. Same with this strip here. And the interesting thing right here, this is like Morse code for Jordan, and I forgot what else it was. It's Morse code for something. I think it's Jordan. And so then we tested that strip underneath there. That is also fake leather. But the fake leather isn't really even that big of a part of the shoe. The majority of this shoe is made from this really light mesh material. And this is a Leno weave. And so what's so special about this Leno weave? Well, if you look really closely at like a canvas material, you've got strands going horizontal and you've got strands going vertically, and they all just intertwine and weave. That's where you get canvas. The thing that's different about this Leno weave is instead of having a single strand that's interlaced, it has a double strand. And so instead of it weaving in and out, it kind of locks itself into place. And you might be thinking, wow, that sounds like a really fancy weave pattern that's probably super advanced and new technology, but it's actually the same type of weave that you see in potato sacks and other produce bags because of how strong it is and how much it stretches enough to conform to the shape of your foot and potatoes, whatever, but also retains a lot of its strength to where if you really press on it, it's not going to split and fray and dump a 50-pound bag of potatoes everywhere. So it makes a really great material for a basketball shoe where you're really going to be putting a lot of strain on that material. So it's a smart material. And to show you how breathable this actually is, we hooked up the breathability tester, and usually we don't get a lot of results from this test, but as you can see, it's clearly very breathable. And to test the durability of it, we decided to do the same thing we did with the Yeezys, where we cut a slash in this and try to kind of peel it apart and separate it, and it holds its shape really well because of how those two lines interact or interlace and lock into place. And we also cut it horizontally and tried to fray it, and still stayed in pretty good condition, especially compared to the knit uppers that you see in the non-performance shoes with the Yeezys and all these other like basically sock shoes. And following that weave pattern and idea, they also have a pretty interesting eyelet. They don't actually have eyelets. They have what looks like a paracord that's weaved in and out, that's sewn down, and that the laces thread in between. So we thought we'd do like a pull test to see how many pounds it takes to actually pull your laces through that, because once again, playing basketball, that side pressure when you pivot really hard puts a lot of strain on your laces. And that looks like a really thin piece of paracord. But we rigged it up, pulled on it, and it broke at 211 pounds. And that actually surprised me quite a bit. I thought for sure it was gonna rip really easily, but those stayed a lot better than even some of the boot eyelets that we've seen. So performance as well. So now to the meat of this thing that gets really interesting. If we remove this insole, you'll notice that it's kind of a styrofoam material, and the interesting thing about this insole is it's made to break into the shape of your foot, similar to how like a leather boot does. But you'll notice there's a cutout or like an indentation that wraps all the way around the shoe. What is that for? It's for the coolest thing about this shoe. If you look inside of here, there is like a lasting board in there. It's Strobel stitched, but that is actually the Zoom Air unit that's Strobel stitched. So usually when you see air units in shoes, you've got the upper that's Strobel stitched to some sort of lasting material that's slip lasted, and then underneath there's foam and there's the air unit buried deep underneath of there. But with this, that air unit is actually Strobel stitched to the upper. So you're as close to that air unit as humanly possible while still having a little bit of an insole, a little bit of a squish, and getting as much of that comfort and rebound from that air unit as possible, because it's not buried underneath several millimeters of foam. So once again, a very performance-based construction, but these aren't just normal air units that you see in like the Jordan 1s. These are the Zoom Air units, and they work in a really smart way because the Zoom Air has 2 layers of fabric with the pile sides facing each other and basically connecting. So it's not just a bag of air. You've got this lattice structure on the inside that gives a little bit more strength, a little bit more rigidity inside of the air unit, so that when you put pressure in a certain spot, all the air doesn't rush immediately to the other side. Those fibers keep that air unit stable, which allows them to put a little bit more pressure in, allows for a little bit more rebound, and allows for a lot lighter weight construction because you don't have to have these big plastic and foam columns throughout the whole midsole. And people love the Zoom Air. People say it's the most comfortable and the most responsive and most performance-based technology that Nike uses. But we got to put it to test, so let's do a quick puncture test, or I guess a PSI test, to see if there actually is air in here, if it's all just a little bit of a gimmick. So we took our pressure gauge, stabbed it in there, and as you can see, it made a huge hiss. The needle went up to like 7 to 7.5. We definitely lost a lot of air in that initial pierce because it's so pressurized. A lot of the air escaped before that needle was fully into the air unit. So it's less about how much pressure and more about the fact that there is pressure in there, because we've used that before on other shoes and there's no pressure in there. And my concern with this is because it's strobel stitch, that it just takes one of those little needle pierces to pierce through the actual air unit itself to completely deflate this entire thing. And we also wanted to test the responsiveness and the rebound on these, so we mounted it up to our bar drop test. Dropped that bar from 36 inches and it bounced back up 7.75 inches, which is really high. So not quite as much as the Bar Drop King, the Boost Foam, because that Boost Foam bounced up like 8+ inches. It went all the way back up into the tube. But I think it's two different types of responsiveness and rebound. And then to the other technology of this shoe, you've got this cup underneath the arch of your foot that's not carbon fiber like the 11s were, that actually broke pretty easily. I think it's more of a plastic. So let's do a little bend test to see if it snaps and fractures, like the carbon fiber unfortunately did. Because if carbon fiber broke really easily, and this one is not breaking, not at all. And to be honest, I don't really even know exactly what this is for. You know, maybe it's to help keep your foot planted in the shoe so it's not sliding over top of the arch. Or maybe it's to help support the arch, because when you put a lot of strain on your feet, the first thing that goes is your arch. Your arch just flattens out. So maybe it's just to support that. But ultimately, I think it's mostly for the look and the gimmick of having that in there. And it doesn't break, which is better than the carbon fiber. And then as for everything else, you've got the foam midsole sneaking up the sidewall there. You got the rubber outsole with the herringbone pattern. And that's pretty much it. So now let's get this thing cut in half. All right, we got it cut in half, and there's some interesting stuff in here. I was surprised by a couple things. So let's see what's inside. There's a shank in this boot, which I don't know how we haven't made that shirt yet. Maybe we'll make it for Mocktober or something this year. But then also, this isn't a boot, this is a shoe. But you can see there's a shank right there that adds even more rigidity to that arch support that's caused by that cup right there. And you can really see how thick those double zoom air units are right there. And another thing I noticed is there's not a whole lot of drop in this shoe. You know, from the heel to the toe, there's only a 5mm difference, because the heel is 30mm, the toe is 25mm, which I prefer. There's some people that like playing basketball in a higher heeled shoe for whatever reason, maybe gives them a little extra height. But for me, I want as natural of a feel underneath my feet as possible. And so I like having a lower drop in the shoe. And the coolest thing about this is doing these cross sections, you can really see how that strobel stitch goes through that air unit. And the way they've got around having the potential issue of sewing through the air unit and popping it before the shoe's even done is they've left a huge flange all the way around the air unit that leaves plenty of room to not accidentally stitch through the air unit. And so overall, what do I think of this shoe? I love this shoe. I think it's so cool. I think they've really pulled this shoe off. The strobel stitch zoom air is really cool. The look of the shoe, it just has a certain look about it. It's almost like a Ferrari, if I'm being honest, because it's all performance based, all super lightweight materials, designed with lightweight and performance in mind, but also because it's so hyper focused on performance, it just has a certain look about it. And to me, the purest form of designing a function based product is designing it function first and letting the function dictate what the form looks like, and somehow pulling off a beautiful form. That's the pinnacle of product design, in my opinion. And I think this does it really well. I guess this is technically the end of Jordan July, even though it's August. And we'll probably revive it for July again next year. And we'll probably do some Jordans in between because there's a lot of Jordans to do. So let me know what you guys thought of Jordan July and what other series you want us to do next. Because we got Mocktober coming up for the mock toe boots, but we're needing some ideas for the next series. So let me know below in the comments which series you want us to do. And thank you guys for everything. See ya.